Hey guys, welcome to today's video on what is the best diet for the human body. So there is so many different principles that we can pull in to talk about this conversation today. And I know that there are thousands of videos out there on diets, but I know that you're going to find my insights slightly different because they come from a very different perspective of how I perceive diets to be. And so if you're new to this channel, hello, welcome. My name is Elika. I'm a trusted advisor and energy optimization coach for purpose-driven leaders who want to have more energy because they understand that energy is our most valuable currency and they want to have a bigger impact in the world by having more energy. So if you feel like energy is something that you want to be more on top of, you're managing your personal energy, then I invite you to subscribe to my channel where I'll be sharing life hacks, lifestyle tips that can really help you to create more awareness and really see a bigger impact in how you perceive and receive the world. So let's go into today's topic. Now, there are so many different diets out there and it is very overwhelming for the typical person that goes out on a quest to improve their diet. The truth is, every single diet expert that you go down will be adamant that theirs is the best for you. And your job is to decipher through lots of conflicting information about what is going to work for me. And the truth that I want you to hold on to is that you have the answer for you. So I felt like the best way to share this was to share what my journey has been like in figuring this out for me. And then maybe you can use that as a roadmap for how you're going to decipher exactly what is working for you and what's not. So I would say that I was fortunate with my upbringing, having a lot of Caribbean, British Jamaicans, having a lot of Caribbean influence in my food and my cooking and that culture, which is to cook wholesome soul food at home. That I started off, to be fair, with on the better side. I wouldn't say I was at the extreme. Like, I think I could have been born on an organic farm, but I started life with home cooked meals, right? That were wholesome and nutritious. And that was the culture of my home environment. And I would also say that, you know, as I moved into my early teens, I had a lot of exposure to more international cuisines, especially Spanish, because we were spending a lot of our summers in Spain. And so again, that culture there is very much around families coming together, like wholesome, like nutritious, really warming foods. And so that was my baseline in starting out. But I'm going to tell you, I remember as a child feeling very frustrated, growing up in England with my friends having like, it was called Bernard Matthew. Oh my God, I'm scared to even say it. Bernard Matthew turkey drummers. They were like processed turkey meat shaped into the shape of a drumstick. And chicken 𝐠𝐸𝐬𝐳. These were like working class British microwave fast food meals. Oh, I mean, I was going crazy that my friends got to have that and that my mom would never buy those foods. So I think what I recall is probably now looking back, the most processed food we had was cornflakes, which I would pour sugar over. And we weren't allowed fizzy pops, no microwave meals. I don't even think I had a microwave growing up. So that was it. When I went to university, I discovered this frozen food shop called Jack Fulton's. Okay, I'm digressing here, but this is just so funny when I bring it back. Jack Fulton's was this like frozen food company where you could buy like essentially meals for under $5 that were frozen. And as a student, I thought that was amazing. So that was me introducing myself to the world of processed food. So by the time I went through college, always exercising to lose weight, always going through various diets to lose weight, and then went into my working career, I realized that in my working career, when I had my first burnout, that my diet wasn't as good as I thought it was. And that's when I started to understand the world of macronutrients and moved away from calories as a way to restrict myself in dieting to macronutrients, which was introduced to me by my personal trainer. So macronutrients, there are three big nutrients that the body needs. That's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And then there are the micronutrients, which are the vitamins and minerals and water that we get from fruit, vegetables, and water. So being introduced to that world, which is that's the gateway really that personal trainers introduce you to food. Then I started to understand that in order to hit the macros, that the foods that we're eating were real food, right? They were foods that were fresh. They didn't tend to be in tins, in packets, in containers. I didn't need to read ingredients labels for them. So what that magically did was move me more towards eating a whole foods. So I would say whole foods diet. So what I would say is my starting point there, that was really the right diet, I would say, was to move away from eating processed foods to eating whole foods. And if you've watched any of my content around nutrition, I always have this definition that I use to help my clients, which is get rid of the word healthy, because it has an association, being honest, that most people don't want to do. Don't want to eat that way, right? We start picturing salads, boring salads and all of this stuff. So I don't eat that way. I definitely don't expect others to. It's not very inspiring if you love food like I do. But there is a diet that is designed for us. And so how I define it is, if somebody tells you, this is healthy, or you want to know, is it healthy? Think about your grandma when she was a child. And I usually say around 6 years old, because I'm really going back 3 generations back. And imagine everything that was growing, moving, or swimming on the water form that was nearby on the land that she lived on. So your grandma, when she was 6, now that's really unique to everybody, right? So you can imagine where she was. So that was probably where she was born, where she was raised. And you can imagine the land then, it looks very different to how it would do now. So you can imagine what was growing on that land. You can imagine, so for my grandma, that would have been in Jamaica. So I can imagine things like bananas, coconuts, pineapple, but also things like yam and pumpkin, these really soul root foods, right? Cassava. And all, of course, the green leafy vegetables and spinach that grows locally in Jamaica. Then things that are moving. So again, in Jamaica, chickens is a big moving animal. It's a small moving animal, but it's a big consumption of the animal meats that they have. Also, goats are quite big. So these are things that you would see moving on the land of this small island, Jamaica. And then if I think about the water form, Jamaica being an island, the nearest water form probably for most is not the sea, is not the river, sorry, should I say, or the lake, it's the sea. And in the sea, in Jamaica, the food sources are things like lobster, red snapper, So that's what it would be for me. So my food source, that becomes my staples. That becomes not the only thing that I need to eat, but that becomes the food that is like my body just goes, oh my God, this is my soul food, right? And you can imagine if I asked somebody's grandma that was in Italy, in Brazil, in Australia, in Thailand, we'd get different answers. But what does this form? It forms a definition of what our personalized version of whole foods and our diet looks like. It forms a version of what I would say is the human being's diet. And that is what I was moving towards. And I felt amazing. Of course, when you move away from processed foods that are made from man and machine, the truth is you're going to feel great. But you don't stop there, because there is another level. And so the next level I moved to was obviously in playing around with whole foods, I started to understand that there were certain foods that really would keep me inflamed. So that was gluten, which is only found inside wheat, barley, and rye. Also dairy. So it wasn't a surprise to me that I was lactose intolerant. And just, anything that really contained high amounts of sugar in it, right? So those were the foods that I was staying away from, which, the beautiful thing is when you start moving towards a whole food diet, you find yourself going towards gluten-free anyway, and refined sugar tends to be out of anyway. So that's just like a natural side effect from moving towards a whole food diet. So after that, my journey meant that I left my corporate and went into coaching. And coaching, I studied 56 dietary theories. And so I could start to see the nuances of what everyone's saying in different countries, different cultures, the West versus the East. I could see it very clearly. When you study 56 dietary theories, actually what was brilliant for me is you start seeing what are the similarities between all of them, which generally is the whole foods focus. But I would say you could put it into 3 main categories, those 56 diets that I studied. And that was one that tended to be more meat orientated. So you could say originally that would have been like the Atkins diet. And then it was kind of like known as the primal diet. And then it was what I would say now is more like the keto diet. So it tends to be a diet that's quite heavy in animal products, meat, fish, but anyway, animal products, and quite low in carbohydrates. Then you would find that the second type is kind of like a balanced diet. So I would like to say the Mediterranean diet falls into this. In Asia, it would be like the macrobiotic diet that the Japanese thrive on. And then the third category I would say is one that removes predominantly animal products. So obviously veganism, but also vegetarians, right? So those are the three categories that I could see that most of the diets were falling into. So on that journey, when I opened my restaurant, I really wanted to focus on whole foods, even though I was eating meat. So when I went on to do my chef training, I became a certified plant-based chef. And so to do that, I actually went 30 days of eating a vegan diet, and I took it to the extreme, as I do. And I went raw food vegan. So raw food vegan, just in case you don't know, is not eating food that's cooked above 46 degrees temperature, which is the point where nutrients start to get destroyed through the fire. So I'm going to be honest, I did this in Bali, in Indonesia, which is like a tropical island. I took time away from work and I felt amazing. One of the biggest benefits was my digestion. It was like, if you've got an animal like a dog, if you just watch a dog, it eats, it needs to go for a walk, and it poops. And that was my digestion. It was like, you think once a day is good, right, to clear everything out. 3 times a day after meals, timely, you're like, wow, there is a sophisticated digestion thing happening here. And that's what it was like. I need to add to that I took a month away from work. I was on a tropical island. Literally, fresh fruit was growing abundantly all around me. My foods were prepared and given to me. Obviously, some meals were eaten out because just for social reasons. I had no stress in my life. I had nothing else to think about. And I was really using very little energy. I mean, I was working out every day, like yoga, walking, nothing strenuous, definitely wasn't weightlifting, maybe some body weight exercises. Ultimately, I felt amazing. And I came back to my city life and my running a restaurant and a coaching business, frantic. And I would say that I slowly started to go back to eating more warm foods, needing a lot more dry and grainy foods, carbohydrates as well, right? And definitely eating meat again. And what I felt was, with the exercise that I was doing and with the work that I had, I still felt good. What I had at that time, though, was mental stress. And that was something that I didn't have before. And so over the time, what happened was meat started to become more and more in my diet, and grains did. And then I would say I got to where I am now, which is I really do restrict the amount of grains and carbohydrates I use as my main source on my plate, especially in the evenings. I try to avoid having carbohydrate sources in the evening, because if I have fats, which I always do, you know, through the oils that I use when I cook in, or as a side like avocado, then I don't see that, even with my lifestyle, running my own business and working out, you know, 3 to 5 times a week, I don't see that I need to have the excess energy source in the evenings of carbohydrates when I've got fats and I've got protein. And I would say that this year in particular, I've been even stricter on moving towards less carbohydrates and less grains around my 28-day cycle. So I use it's called infradian rhythm, my natural biological cycle of 28 days, to look at my energy fluctuations. And so when I'm in my luteal phase, which is the phase before my menstrual cycle starts, or my bleeding starts, then I would actually know that then I want to bring in my carbohydrates. And I will, you know, I would love to say that I just eat sweet potato, because I think that would be the best one. But the truth is, because I don't really eat processed foods really much anyway, I tend to have what I have at home. And that will tend to be, it could be like rice, it could be starchy vegetables like pumpkin. I make a lot of homemade breads. So I make like a flat bread made from flax seeds. I also make a pumpkin seed bread, which sometimes I mix with buckwheat. So this is what I will tend to have as my carbohydrate source. And then when I eat out, I'm not as fussy. So for example, I might order sweet potato fries as a side with a salad or something like that. I rarely eat salads, but you know, because I'm having the sweet potato fries, I usually have that with a salad. And that's how I'll kind of balance it in that week before. When I'm ovulating, that time I realize I really don't need it. So I really lean up and I go pretty much carnivore then. And then I would say in kind of like, you know, around that is kind of balanced depending on how I feel. So I realized that this at the moment is working really well for me. And I can see it because I have those days where I have more carbohydrates. I notice the difference in my bloating and in the inflammation in my body. When I look at my body, it feels just more fuller. And on those days where I'm, relying more on the animal meat, I feel leaner. And what I can say to you about all of this is that in different seasons of my life, it's very clear to me I've needed different things. And all of them have worked. Even honestly, processed foods at university on $5 frozen meals, it worked, right? I had a tiny budget. I was like really young. I was in my 20s, like burning calories like that, dancing every night. It worked. Would I want to feed my child that? Would I want to raise my child on processed frozen meals? No way. But I give myself the grace that worked that time. And when I moved to a whole foods diet, it gave me that contrast. So I understood the difference in how my body feels on that processed food diet versus on whole foods, the human beings diet. And I feel in this moment in time that if you got me to go live on an island where I had very little responsibilities, probably just to do whatever I wanted to do every day, I don't know, if I'm honest, if my body would need such a reliance on animal meat. But in this moment in time, I live in Singapore, I live in a city, and I don't think that my life is stressful, but I can tell I'm around a lot of stressful people who, of course, in their information field, I pick up on their frequencies, I pick up on their energetic frequencies. And so that does have an impact with me, right? I want to live with other people in a civilized society. I'm not ready to go live in the Himalayan mountains alone. So there is an impact on me. And also, I do really enjoy lifting weights, and I do think it's a really important part of keeping my body feeling strong and healthy. I also want the metabolic benefit of having more muscle, which is a sugar disposal system. And I do find that in lifting weights, that protein, that need for protein is there. And you can see the other argument of that. Well, if you didn't exercise as much with heavy stuff or heavy weights, which I wouldn't say I'm extreme there, you might not need that. Chicken or egg scenario. What I want you to know is that the most important thing, I believe, is that your food is coming from nature and not from man and machine. And that in different seasons of your life, your body is going to call for different things. But you have to sit with yourself and you have to say, what do you need from me now? And what is feeling good when I eat it? And notice, be very present with your food and notice, God, this food just makes me feel so good when I eat it. Like I have that with coconuts. There's something about coconuts. Yes, again, it's in my ancestral background to have coconuts. I now live in a tropical island, Singapore, that also coconuts are abundantly found here. And anything coconut milk, coconut in my desserts, coconut cream, coconut cake, anything with coconut, my body sings to. I also have the same experience with cinnamon. Now, I would say to you that I know, like I've had clients from all different cultures, all different races. And for example, if I speak to Italians about coconut, they just do not have the same feeling about coconut than I have. But I can say that to someone from Indonesia and they can. So you have to find the foods that are your medicine and understand that one person's medicine can be another person's poison, even in the human being's diet. So I hope that's allowed you to relieve any anxiety that you may have about choosing the right diet. I hope it allows you to listen to content, read information around various diets out there, and go with the one that your heart resonates without any guilt over what you should and shouldn't be doing. And knowing that you should be open to at any point when your body tells you it's time for a change, just allow that to change without any cognitive bias or excess resistance that's not needed. And hopefully that will allow you to eat for the energy that your body requires in the time. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love to see your likes so that more people can discover it. And also I would love to hear your takeaways in the comments below. So leave a takeaway, whatever comes to you. And if there's anything else that you would like me to share in future content, you can put that in the comments as well. But yeah, feel free to share this and obviously subscribe if you'd like to hear more of this content. Take care.